Booktube. Welcome back to my channel. Christmas was 2 days ago, which means that I have some Christmas books to share with you. This is my after Christmas book haul. There are books to share with you. Some of these are books that I got because of Christmas. Some of these are books that I got around Christmas that just didn't make it into my pre-Christmas book haul. And some of these are books that I bought myself because I got some Christmas cash. And what is one way to make cash last forever? Buy books. Books that you could read and then own forever and ever. So that's what I did. So these are the books that have come into my life after Christmas or around Christmas 2017. First, I'm going to share the book that was given to me by the publisher in order to review. I don't know, I forgot about this in my previous haul. This is Cowboys Legacy, a novel, Harlequin romance novel by B.J. Daniels. This is, I think, the third in a series of Cahill Ranch novels that is set in Montana. I read and reviewed another book from that series earlier this year. This one was Renegade's Pride, and so now I got Cowboys Legacy, which is from the same series. And even though it's a Harlequin romance novel, which is not something that I read generally, B.J. Daniels does a really fantastic job of making this not just about romance. There's family history and generational curses and kidnapping and mystery and murder, and it makes for such an interesting read. It is not your typical romance novel. So if you're interested in romance, suspenseful thriller novels, I'd say check this author B.J. Daniels and this Cahill Ranch novel series out. So that is the only book that I have right now that I got from the publishers. Books that I got myself, because these backlisted books are books that I have thought about reading many times and just never got around to. So I picked up Into Thin Air by Jon Krakauer, and this is about the Mount Everest tragedy that happened in the late 1990s. And this is a memoir, biography / nature book, which I'm looking forward to reading because I like hiking. I've thought about climbing Mount Everest at some point in my life, so I think this is going to be equal parts scary and inspirational. So we'll see. I have never read F. Scott Fitzgerald's Great Gatsby, and I also haven't watched the movie, and I know that I'm not going to watch the movie until I read the book, so I'm going to read the book. It's a pretty short book. I mean, there's no reason that I shouldn't have read this 200-page book at some point before. It's not even 200 pages, but I'm going to read it now. Well, I'm going to read it when I get to it. I've also picked up Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises. This was his first big novel, and it established Hemingway as one of the great prose stylists. This one is about the post-World War I generation, and I think that it's about time that I read some of these books that I've thought about, I've heard about, I've planned to read at some point. It's time for me to get them on my shelf and get them off my shelf and in my hands to read. So I have that one. I also picked up another Toni Morrison. This one is Love. It's not the same kind of edition as the two other copies that I showed you a couple of days ago, but I like this cover. This woman's head coming out of this flower, and I'm interested to check out this one. It says it's about Bill Cosby. Very interesting. So similar to Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby enjoyed the affections of many women who would do almost anything to gain his favor. In death, his hold on them may be even stronger. Wife, daughter, granddaughter, employee, mistress. As Morrison's protagonists stake their furious claim on Cosby's memory and estate, using everything from intrigue to outright violence, she creates a work that is shrewd, funny, and heart-wrenching. So this might be my next Toni Morrison read. And this is a book that I've wanted to see the movie for many years now. I saw the movie advertised and I thought about watching it, and I don't know why I could never find it. It's Brief Interviews with Hideous Men by David Foster Wallace. I've never read anything by David Foster Wallace, but I've wanted to check it out ever since I've seen the movie advertised, and I could never find the movie to watch. I know Brian from Brian's book Bastion talks about David Foster Wallace's Infinite Jest, which I've heard is probably his masterpiece. But I've been intrigued by this book for a while without knowing anything about the book other than that it has interviews with men, and that John Krasinski, I think, is in the movie, and I like him from The Office, and I said, yeah, I want to check that out. But I haven't watched the movie, so now I'm going to read the book. I also want to read more translated works, and I found this one in the thrift store. This is Yasunari Kawabata's short story collections, Palm of the Hand, and he's a Nobel Prize winner. And you know me, I love the book prizes. I like to read books by prize winners. So I'm going to read this book of translated stories because I could always pick up some more translated works. In this age, we really shouldn't limit our literature appreciation to just books that were written by people who speak English. So I'm so happy to have found this one, and I think I got this for $1. Yasunari Kawabata won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1968. So these are very short stories, and here we have a story that's just one page back and front. These might actually be flash fiction stories, so that's interesting. I don't have a book of flash fiction right now, so that's going to be pretty cool. Other books. These are books that I bought myself. I got Open City by Teju, which is a book about New York. Teju is an African American of Nigerian heritage. This is his picture right here. He's a writer and photographer, and I think he said he started medical school but he didn't like it. In this book, the protagonist is a medical doctor and he walks around New York City. So the book is like a walking tour of New York City, and I really like it for that reason. I saw it in the bookstore. I started reading it in the bookstore. I bought a couple of copies because I just like this book for the feel that it gives of New York City, and I like it. I like it a lot. I also became enamored by this kind of print book. These editions are NYRB Classics. NYRB stands for New York Review Books. They are a publishing company in New York City. They publish classic books from other countries, and some of them are translated works. This is Season of Migration to the North by Tayeb Salih. I got this one at the Strand a few days ago, and I read it in about a day and a half. This one is set in the Sudan, and it's about a young man who leaves his home in the Sudan and goes to England and studies for a few years. He goes to college and does a degree in poetry. When he returns home, he's like a novelty in his community. Everyone wants to talk to him and hear his comparison of life in England to life in the village where they're from. And he becomes so intrigued because there's this one person who just kind of ignores him, and that is a newcomer, a person who has moved into the village while he was away. And eventually they get to talking, and this man, he finds out, also studied poetry in England. But he becomes intrigued by this person, not just in their similarities, but in their differences. And so the book then becomes a story within a story, because the protagonist is learning about this other person's story, and this person's story becomes larger than life. And it's a story that was written in the early 1900s. I don't know why it's taken me so long to hear about it, but I'm really happy that I read it, and I'm going to recommend it to you guys. I'm going to be making a video in the next couple of days where I'm going to share some of my favorite backlisted books from 2017. So not books that were first published in 2017, but books that I read in 2017 that were published some other time that I think you should check out. So this was my introduction to these NYRB Classics, and I have found out, so this is what they look like. I love this. I really like that they have these really beautiful illustrations on the front. I like this kind of matte cover, and the beautiful acid-free paper, and the printing, and the print is really good. The font is really good. These are all the titles in this series. There's one page and two more pages and two more pages. So that's 5 pages of titles. And I don't know, I'd like to read all of them. That's probably not going to happen, but I do have 2 more. I picked up The Bridge of Beyond by Simone Schwartz-Bart, and this one has an introduction by Jamaica Kincaid, who's one of the Caribbean-based authors that I read a lot of in 2017. It's a book that's set in Guadeloupe, and it talks about Caribbean history in this French Caribbean setting, which is not something that I'm very familiar with, so I'm extremely interested to get to this one. I might read this one tonight. But also, again, beautiful, beautiful illustration on the front. Love the spine, love the matte cover. This is the same NYRB Classic print. And then I have one more, and that is Our Spoons Came from Woolworths by Barbara Comyns. And this one is about a young couple. The story starts off with some of the struggles that they have trying to get married, trying to overcome the resistance from both sides of their family. Both families not wanting these young people to get married, but getting married anyway, and finding that the struggle doesn't end after the wedding, but that they have to learn to live with each other and deal with each other. As well as this young woman trying to figure out how to keep her identity as an artist and also be a wife. Makes me think about Virginia Woolf's writings In a Room of One's Own. I started reading the first few chapters of this one in the bookstore, and I'm really interested to finish it now. And again, look at this cover. Look at the illustration on this cover. Another NYRB classic. And this one comes from... This one is set in England in the Great Depression. So I'm really loving these classic books, guys. I'm really loving this. So that's it. That's my Christmas book haul. I might have another haul before the end of the year. We'll see. But that's it for now. So thanks for watching. Leave me a comment down below if you've read any of these and want to talk a little bit more about them. And until next time, happy reading. Bye. Oh, subscribe to my channel, guys. Subscribe to my channel. These are the books. These are all the books. No, these are not all the books. There are more books. There are more books. I forgot this one. This one. So these are my Christmas. So this is my Christmas book haul. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 books. 10 books on my Christmas book haul. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, it's 11. I didn't count the one on top. It's 11. Christmas 2017, I would say, has been a smashing success. Until tomorrow, guys. Happy reading. I know I will.